Take another breath. Relax. Good, good, good. This evening, the topic is mindfulness is the pathway to success. The school teacher in me, from decades ago, mindfulness the root word is mind. And the mind is always working. Your mind never stops. It really never sleeps. It's always categorizing, calculating. It has a lot of agendas that it works through every moment. And so when we talk about mindful, it's hard to get away from the mind and say, well, gosh, if we want to get full of mind here, how you get full of mind. And so as I was coming here this evening, I pulled into the service station and had to get some gasoline for my car. And as I'm pumping the gas, I'm thinking of some friends of mine. I have several friends that live in East Florida. And I'm pumping my gas and I'm thinking about them and, and kind of holding them in the light and everything. And then I noticed, my gosh, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing here. I wasn't being very mindful. My body was doing one action and my mind was entertaining something else. If I'm not careful, I'm going to tell the whole evening here in about 5 minutes, but that might be good too. So as you meditate, you're practicing the discipline of your mind. No matter what technique you use, you're using a discipline here. And in that discipline, whether you're doing a mantra or you're focusing on an enlightened teacher or whatever, you're sitting and the mind, your little mind, starts trying to intrude. Little things like, you got an itch, you scratch, okay, and I'm going to go back, and I'm meditating, oh, wow, what am I going to have for lunch tomorrow? Oh no, back to meditating. So the whole time of meditation, you have thoughts come to you, and you're getting frustrated because you want to get back into your meditation, because you want to touch God, you want to dissolve into God, you want to become one with everything. And these thoughts keep coming and emotions come up. Sometimes you're not thinking about something, but an emotion comes up, and then your body automatically takes that emotion, whirls it around and says, oh, this is because Susie Q is really angry at me, or Jimmy owes me money, or something. It doesn't matter, but that emotion or that thought brings up a thought. And it takes you away from your mindfulness, of the discipline of focusing on your meditation. And so it's a practice of concentration, it's a practice of discipline, and as Don Juan told Carlos Castaneda, it's the development of an unbending will and intention toward the divine, in this case. So in your meditations, you're practicing mindfulness. Every time you sit, you go, okay, I'm going to do my meditation. Shring, 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 shring. Oh, well, maybe that's not a good example. Let me see if I come up with another one. Okay. Om, Om, Om. No, that's not a good example either. Trying to. Okay, I'll see if I can conjure something. Om, om, om. Jimmy, when's he going to pay me that money? Om, om, om. Susie Q, boy, she's got an attitude. Oh, om, om. What I'm saying is, in your meditation, you're trying to get to that point of stillness. And it's very difficult because your life is full of clamorous thoughts. We are assaulted by the news of the day. We are curious and astonished and appalled and extremely interested in the hurricanes or the massive forest fires or the huge earthquake or the data breach of all of our Social Security numbers. There's so much to think about, so much to be concerned about, we think. And these things tend to come up in your meditation. It clutters up your mind. Most people go through life with a cluttered mind. As I was pumping my gas, I'm thinking about my friends. I'm driving my car, I'm listening to music, maybe texting, playing with my dog all at the same time, and wondering why I'm driving erratically. My humor's really lost on this crowd tonight, but that's okay. So your mind is always working, it's always creating, it's always bringing up thoughts and feelings and emotions. But to be mindful, you push all of that stuff aside. Now this is the trick about meditation. When you meditate and you do your 30 minutes or your 20 minutes of, shring, 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 you're saying your little mantra of shring, and shring, 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 and then you have these thoughts come up and you have emotions come up and you keep pushing them aside and you're coming back as quickly as you can to your mantra. Shring, 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 bring it back to mantra. Shring, shring, shring. And you just sit there and at the end of 20 minutes you think, that was a horrible meditation. It was terrible. But what you did during that 20 minutes is you were practicing mindfulness. You were practicing pulling your mind back into order, back from these intruding thoughts that we find ourselves in. Until when you reach a certain level of awareness, you live in a mindful state a lot of the time. I won't say 100% of the time. I wouldn't know about that. But I do know you can have it almost all of the time. Where do these thoughts come from? Where do these feelings come from? Well, for one thing, we live in a psychic soup, in a small planet that is grossly overpopulated, with 7 billion people, all of them psychic, all of them occultist, every one of them shooting energy around, doing the old operating system of trying to control, dominate, and manipulate everyone and everything around them through fear. So we come out of this space, the higher self, and we drop into these bodies, right through the crown here, right where that soft spot is in a baby. We drop right into the body through there, and as our soul enters into these physical bodies, it lights up each one of these chakras. And we find ourselves experiencing a reality through these different chakras that we find in our body. The lower you go in the chakras, the more mundane and the more physical it is. The higher you go, the more you're approaching the divine. And the center part of this is your heart. So when you come in, you're brought down here, and for the first couple of months of your life, all systems are go. Every one of your chakras are lit up. But you have no reference point. So that's where your family and your friends come in. When you're a baby, especially in the beginning, you're not really aware of your body that much. Your eyes start to focus a little quicker, and then you start seeing things moving around, motions. And some things were loving and kind, and they had a certain smell to them that you associated with this being that held you in her arms and fed you from her breast and burped you and changed your diapers and just took care of your every need. And you would watch your body. You would just observe it give out a certain cry. And this loving being would know to change your diapers or to give you food or to burp you or to rock you to sleep. And then you started noticing other movements around you, other figures. Your father, a little rougher than your mother, holds you kind of clumsily, but you can tell and feel the love. Then there are these smaller beings, your brothers or sisters, who poked at you and wanted to hold you. Not well. And your world started to take shape. Soon you had language. And then as you grew a little bit more aware of yourself and of what was going on around you with the language, and things were being put upon you. Concepts. You were given a language that had a certain structure. And that structure kind of set up the way you put your reality together. All of the languages are a little bit different structure. So that's one difference. Your family, how rich or poor they were, how educated and smart they were, or maybe not so educated, maybe not so smart. The religion that you found yourself in, all of these things started to come together. Your politics, society, and you started to get a sense of self, a sense of who you were. And as you were really young, you were told that you were good or that you were bad when you did something they didn't want you to do. Everything was done with good intention, but you were pressed into an agreement of a reality with everyone around you. And part of that involves feelings and self-esteem issues and comparisons, and usually you're on the worst end of it, but not always. And you have all of these things, and your chakras are coming in, and as you're viewing things from different parts of your chakra, you get a different feel for the world. You get a different feel for the room you're in. And this becomes your reality, and your mind becomes trapped in these lower chakras. This is called samskara. It's all down here in the lower chakras. You find yourself in a world of sex, drugs, rock and roll, news, weather, sports, politics, religion, romance, power. And these things have an emotional charge. So when you decide that you're going to become mindful, you're going to start becoming control of your mind, and you start doing your meditation, shrink, 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 these forces come up and touch you. And they have an influence on you. It's hard to get free of them because you've been put together by your body and by everyone around you. So what to do? Well, my teacher, Rama, said that liberation, that is being free of all of that, liberation is being free of the thoughts and feelings of those who love you. And you say, well, how can this be? Well, the answer is very simple, my friends. Your heart is your psychic center, not your forehead. Your forehead, the third eye, is where you see into the divine dimensions and the different layers of realities. But your heart is your psychic center. And this is where you hold people you love. Your mother, your father, your lovers. You hold them here in your heart. And so, when they're having a tough time, you have a tough time. When they're having a good time, you're having a good time. But sometimes these expectations from others can be very constricting. They can keep you trapped. Papa, I think I want to go to college. No, you don't need to go to college. You need to be a carpenter. Now there's a good job. You can always get a job as a carpenter. College is a waste of time. That's how loved ones affect us. They do it in the best of intentions. They're not trying to keep you down. They're not trying to punish you. They're trying to do good for you, but it's coming from their life and how they put things together. So the best of intentions from people you love many times are not what you need to be free. So traditionally, what people would do when they would come to that point where they want to be free to discover their spiritual nature is, for instance, in India, you stand up, take off your clothes, put on your loincloth, get your begging bowl, your bed, and you say goodbye. Or you maybe find yourself as a Christian showing up at a monastery. Or even as a Buddhist or a Hindu, you show up to a monastery or an ashram. And when you walk up to the door, who do they let in? They don't let your pets in. They don't let you bring in huge suitcases of clothes and trinkets that you had from childhood or whatever. No, you walk in and give everything up. So that's what we've done traditionally throughout the incarnations. When it came time to develop ourselves spiritually, we would physically walk away from our life and everyone that we knew to just focus on the divine. In today's world, you can't do that because we have too many people. The aura is incredibly thick here, with so many 7 billion psychics putting out a concerted effort. Everyone in North Korea has a certain idea of reality. They cannot even comprehend what it must be like to live in Australia, for instance. Any more than someone who lives in Australia can really comprehend what it must be like to live in North Korea. We are surrounded by these forces, and you can't get away from them in an ashram. Many times you go into an ashram or a spiritual community, and you find that people have used that thorn to take away all of those attachments and people that were holding them back, only to find themselves in a new type of prison. Now they're being dominated and manipulated and controlled through fear by the abbot or the other students. So what's a person to do in today's world when it comes to meditation? And that is, you have to live and work in the world, but you have to develop a sense of yourself that transcends everything that's been taught to you by your parents and your friends who loved you your whole life. They're not bad people, generally. Some of them are, but mostly they're not. They would do anything for you. My parents loved me. They would have died for me. But that love did not free me spiritually. It wasn't until I met my teacher that I started to find my freedom. You will find it in your own way. You chose to come to this world during this time. You are not a victim here. Quit trying to be the victim and blame everyone else. Quit trying to be a victim and say, oh, I must have been a horrible person in a previous life, or I wouldn't have so much suffering in this one. That's just nonsense. Enlightenment is everywhere. It's all that there is. The mind is nothing but enlightenment. That's all it is. But we have taken that enlightenment and we brought it down into our being, and we've pushed it around down here, and we've created adversarial activities. You know, he's right, she's wrong. He's beautiful, he's ugly. You know, we have all of this adversarial thing. My team needs to beat your football team. And everything is based upon this adversary thing. Politics, religions, countries. And so what we need to do is to stop. That's all we've got to do, is stop. When you're pumping the gas and you realize you're thinking about something else, stop thinking about it and get back to the gas as quickly as you can. Just like you do when you meditate. Shring, shring, shring. I don't know what he's doing. Oh, shring, shring. You get it back as fast as you can. You don't complete the thought. You're developing a way of getting back to the mind. And then, after your meditation progresses, you'll notice that there are times in your meditation when your thoughts actually stop for just a second or two. You're going along and your thoughts stop. Usually not for that long. But if you stop them and consciously keep it stopped for 2 seconds, you have made progress. And if you can continue that process in your daily meditations until maybe you start watching your breath. One of the techniques that I teach is the wheel of breath. And the idea is, behind this, that your breath on the in-breath is the thoughts and feelings of things external from you. And your thought on the external breath are your concerns. And the point between the inhale and the exhale is no thought. So right now, wake up everyone, falling asleep on me. Wake up. Good. What you're going to find is when you notice your breath, you're going up, oh, these thoughts, whatever. And then you get up to the exhale and there's no thought right in that midpoint. And you see how far down the wheel you go before you have your first thought. Okay, thought there. And hit the bottom. No thought again. Now I'm bringing it up. How far can I bring up that no thought up the wheel? And you keep practicing it until maybe you get a complete cycle where there's no thought. And then you're on your way. So when we're talking about mindfulness, it's easy to get into meditation practice, because meditation practice is all about creating a mindful state of mind, to be aware of where you are without these intruding thoughts coming in externally from you, or your concerns about somebody else that you can't do anything about at this point. My friends in East Florida, all I can do is hold them in the light and know that karmas are being, if it's their karma to escape, they will escape. What am I doing? I'm pumping gas. What is it I need to be concerned with? Pumping gas. I caught my thought. I wanted $20 worth of gas. I stopped it right at 20. Pow. Not 20 and 1 cent, not $19.99. I got it right at 20. Mindfulness. Being in the moment. Expressing enlightenment in the moment. You say, well, gosh, you got to be enlightened to express enlightenment. No, everything is enlightenment. You express enlightenment all the time. It's how you express it that's the issue. How you become trapped inside your body and inside your consciousness. How you become trapped and held into place by other people's judgments about who you are and why you are and what you're all about and where you should be in life and all of these things. And just for a moment, can you stop it? Can you stop the judgments? Oh, that person's so much better than me. Or, oh, I'm so much better than them. Either way, it's just ridiculous. There's just one life. There's just one mind. There's just one creation. And out of that oneness, everything is manifest. There is the Nahual and there is the Tonal. And the Tonal is made up of the Nahual. It's not made up of anything other than the Nahual. There's this Nahual is the undefined, uncreated, manifested, indescribable. Can't describe it, so I'll just stop right there. And somehow in that it takes form. And you in yourself, you're giving it form. Every thought that you have, every feeling that you have, every time you judge yourself, every time you're putting yourself down, you're creating that. You're very creative. You cannot stop creating. You create 24/7. You're never, ever, ever stop creating. Even when you die, you don't die. Why is your life the way it is? Because of the way you're creating it. How are you reacting to life? Is something coming up that hits your consciousness? And because of your history and your self-esteem issues and all the other stuff you have, you're reacting out of anger and outrage, you're reacting out of depression, or maybe you're just manifesting it as one sickness after the other sickness after the other sickness. Whatever you're doing, you're creating it. It is your life. And if you don't believe that, look around you. You'll see that not everybody's creating life the way that you are. You live in a different house. You have different furnishings. You wear different types of clothes. You drive different cars. There's nothing that you have that's like anybody else. And even if you're living with somebody, relationships are very tough. because we don't want to see anything in our lover that's not in ourselves. And what a horrible thing it would be if there wasn't a diversity. When you're in love with somebody, you love their flaws. You don't try to change them. And you love the fact that they work on their flaws. And you encourage them as they should encourage you. But liberation is becoming free. Mindfulness is free. I teach in a mindful state of mind. I have very few thoughts. I create a structure, usually some sort of a template, like tonight talking about mindfulness. But really, what's going on inside of me pretty much all evening long, just watch up here and you'll see, is this. But I have to talk because that's kind of boring. So practice your meditation. Don't be concerned about those meditations where you're sitting there and all of those thoughts and feelings and concerns you have about people you love and situations that are going on in the world. Your financial condition, your jobs, whatever. In your meditation, just for 20 minutes in the morning or 20 minutes in the evening, you sit and you practice mindfulness. You focus on a mantra, or you focus on your breath, focus on a candle. It doesn't matter what you focus on, but you find one thing to focus on and you keep your focus there, undeviating. And when these thoughts come up, you just push them away. And in developing that discipline, you will start finding success in your life. Because the reason you're unsuccessful is because you're not mindful. You start to do something and then other thoughts and other feelings come in. And they distract you. And they take away from the energy of the moment. It would be like taking a karate class, and in the middle of karate, excuse me, Sensei, I need to go over here and I need to check on some of my bills. Make sure they're paid. You know, I'm sure the Sensei would really love that. And yet that's what you do in your meditation. You're saying, excuse me, God, I need to think about this over here for a while. Okay, now I'll come back and I'll focus on you a little bit more. So don't beat yourself up. I went to great lengths to tell you why you have thoughts. It's coming from people around you and people that you love. We are in the river Maya. We are in this illusion. But I want to remind you that you are eternal. You are created in the image and likeness of eternity. You have the ability to change your life. But you have to learn to focus, and you have to learn to be aware of yourself. And you have to learn to divorce your consciousness from the thoughts and feelings of everyone around you. And just keep focused on your higher self. And when you move into the higher self, you're free. This part of you, from the heart down, is full of darkness. It's hard to see. But from the heart up, it starts getting brighter and brighter. That's why they call it enlightenment. When you start moving up here in your meditations and in your consciousness, and you do it with your will and your intent. Rama said that it's like you have to be with this, like a little boy who's going up to his mother and saying, "Can I have just one more cookie, please? Just one more little cookie." That's what you're doing with the divine. You're saying, okay, I just want a little bit more, just a little bit more. I'd like us to meditate now to another Zazen tune called Waves of Light. And in this, I want you to let the music just go up and down. When the music goes up, imagine the energy going up inside of you. When the music goes down, imagine it just going down your spine and coming up your spine. Just let the music play with you and keep your attention on your third eye, right here. And so the music is going to go up and down, and you're going to feel the room, the waves of energy as the music plays, and you keep your focus here. Practice mindfulness. including everyone in this room, he said, if you had incarnated 300 years ago, you would have been enlightened by now, a long time ago. But the essence of the world is so thick that it really requires us to be very mindful and to really do our meditation and to keep ourselves focused on what our meditation is about. Our meditation is about removing our consciousness from the samsaric circle in the lower chakras and start to explore the upper ones. You find that when you get and the heart has 3 levels. It has the lower level, which is conditional love, which is romantic love. I'll love you as long as you don't cheat on me or something like that. Then you have the center love, which is the center of the heart. And this is called guru love or grandmother love. It's going to love you no matter what you do, but it's always going to try to get you to improve. And then you move up to the divine love. And this is something that you may not have ever experienced, but I certainly have. The divine love loves you unconditionally. It doesn't care if you're a mass murderer or not. It loves you. It doesn't, the guru part here says, you can't be a mass murderer. That's bad. It breeds bad karma and that creature down in here. But the higher self is just love. And as you start moving up into these higher octaves, these higher awarenesses, you become less and less physically oriented. And then what you do is you're pulling that dissolved essence down into your life. And if you've been practicing your meditation right, and doing your mindfulness during your meditation where you're pushing thoughts and things away, then when you pull this energy down, this dissolved energy, it comes down and it starts making your life different. You don't have to leave your parents to be free. The trick is to be free while you're with them. This is called Tantra. And Tantra is widely misunderstood. In America, they just think it's having sex. That's not Tantra. Tantra is a reconciliation of opposites. Absolutely. Right? So, I've been practicing Tantra politically. I've been reconciling Trump, I've been reconciling Rush Limbaugh, I've been reconciling, they're all part of God. How can I, I have to love everyone. I don't have to approve of them. I don't have to support their positions, but I have to love them. I didn't say it was easy. When I first started to teach, way long time, 30 years ago or so. Just Rama had unceremoniously kicked me out of Lakshmi. And I was teaching up at Grants Pass. And so I was going through, at that time, teaching the 4 yogas. Jnana Yoga, Mysticism, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti. And I looked at the 4 yogas and I thought, I want to focus on one of them. And I thought, Jnana Yoga is kind of cold and didn't appeal to me at the time. Wasn't ready for it, I guess. Mysticism was fun. I like mysticism. But I saw that it could be a trap. Selfless giving is good. I like selfless giving. But love. Now I'll practice love. What can be wrong with being bhakti? So you see the unity of all things in love. So I determined that I would love and not stop loving. A month later, I walked in to see my girlfriend having sex with someone else. I couldn't be in a relationship anymore. But the horrible thing was I couldn't stop loving. I couldn't stop loving her or the man she was with. It's bhakti yoga. It was hard. Imagine having to love everyone. I have students over the last 30 years, many of them really don't want to associate with me. Maybe they're embarrassed, or maybe I brought up something in them they didn't want to look at. So if I ever come to their mind and I feel them because they're in my heart, I feel their energy and I just have to love them. I never stop loving. Any of you in this room, even if you never see me again, I'll never stop loving you. It's part of my yoga. How can I do that? Because when you sit with me in meditation, I see the divine in you. And how can I not love the divine? I don't necessarily love how the divine is being manifested. That's horrible. That's really bad, I guess. But I can't stop loving you. And I learned after much pain and suffering that you can love somebody and not have to have them in your life. And that's what's kept me sane. But I never stopped loving them. If I'd have gone into selfless giving, it would have been a lot happier. I'd have just been giving everything away. Never kept anything for myself, just give it away constantly. It's selfless giving. I went up to my brother once and says, "Warren, that's a beautiful tie." He says, "You like this tie?" I said, "Oh, it really looks nice on you." He took it off and handed it to me. Selfless. So I'm suggesting here that we're divine. We're just doing the best we can. Any other questions? Fall equinox this year, we're going to Mount Shasta. At least I'm taking my Sangha there. I'm inviting other people to come along. And you can find information on that on my Facebook. And if you're on my new mailing list, I'll be sending you information. It's going to be a very powerful weekend. I was wondering when I went to Mount Shasta there, I'm going there for two days. We're going to be there Friday night. Saturday we'll go up on the mountain. Saturday night we'll have another meditation at the house where I'm staying. And then Sunday we'll go up on the mountain again. I've never done that before because Mount Shasta is such a powerful power spot that I rarely take my students up there more than 4 to 5 hours. It's just too much dissolution going on. But this time, I thought, no, 2 days. And I thought, well, why aren't I going to Crater Lake? Crater Lake's just 2 or 3 hours away. Beautiful. It's a nice movement. Crater Lake is just beautiful and smooth, and Mount Shasta is just totally dissolving. But this year, no Crater Lake. I wondered about that. And then I saw that it burned up, so maybe that's why. But this year it's just Mount Shasta. And you're invited if you want. It's open. And so we're going to end this evening by meditating to Zazen's music on Mount Shasta. So focus on your heart, and your throat, and your third eye. If you'll do that with me, please, and we'll meditate to this music.
Thank you for coming. Namaste.